Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Before we get into this episode, we would just like to remind you all that the topics openly discussed here are our personal opinions along with research made ahead of time. We simply want to educate and present viable facts that are suitable for everyone, and we are certain that we don't want this to be a representation of bias. If you still wish to take part in this episode, please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hey, how's it going, guys? We are your hosts, Josh,
And I'm Ali, welcoming you to Uragon.
your power to vote.
Ayan. So how are you today, Josh? Well, personally, I think I could say for the past few weeks with the upcoming elections, I've just been seeing a bunch of threads on politicians and candidates on my timeline and on my IG feed. What about you? How have you been recently?
I mean, same naman, but I guess it's like more funny. I've been seeing a lot of those TikTok edits, if you guys know what those are. Yung mga TikTok edits.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like Isko Moreno, like dancing in his little parades and whatever. So
Oh my goodness.
I guess I'm doing well.
That's
And
great.
you know what? I'm actually curious. Why did we come up with this project nga pala, Ali? Why was this made and who is it for?
Well, for starters, Uragon is a project made by us UANP students for the NSTP subject this term. So, to our dear prof, shout out to you, ma'am. Our aim is to educate the youth, especially first-time voters, much like us, on this timely occasion. So, for that, sakto. Josh, do you want to give us a background on who our beneficiary for this project is?
Yeah, sure, why not? So, Uragon's beneficiary is Cornerstone, which is an education-centered group that is composed mostly of Couples for Christ citizens. We will know more about them later as this episode goes on, as we tackle our interviews transcript and give our opinions and research.
There are thousands of candidates vying for at least 18,000 posts across the country, and there are at least 5 major candidates for the presidency. Bongbong Marcos Jr., the son of the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos, is leading local surveys here.
Dapat na po ay pagpatuloy ang ating kilusan hanggang tayo'y makatagumpay.
Analysts say he's been using social media to rewrite history for many years. Vice President Leni Robredo is leading the fight for the opposition. Before joining government, she was a human rights lawyer and a development worker. Her campaign theme, Radical Love, has garnered widespread support across the country. But her biggest challenge, how to fight the widespread disinformation attacks thrown against her.
Kaya, tara na, ipanalo na natin ito.
Senator Ping Lacson has the longest experience in government among all the candidates. He was chief of police and he was also senator for many years. But many question his human rights record and his support for the controversial anti-terror law. Mayor Isko Moreno's story is quintessentially Filipino. As a boy, he scavenged for food before becoming a popular actor.
We wish for better things for our people. Sana makaraos na tayo sa pandemyang ito. Yun ang pinaka-importante ngayon, yung buhay at kabuhayan ng tao.
His performance as Manila mayor has inspired so many, and many see him as a formidable candidate. But many also question whether he is truly ready for the presidency. Renowned boxer Manny Pacquiao says God will pave the way for him to become president, just like in his boxing career.
Samahan ninyo ako dahil ang laban ni Manny Pacquiao hindi laban lang sa sarili ko, laban sa pamilya, kundi laban ng bawat Pilipino.
This election is no different. Patronage politics remain rooted in the country's electoral system. Most candidates are using money, popularity, and family connections to get elected.
All right. So once again, I am your host, Ali, and along with me today is Josh. So hey, partner, would you mind introducing the rest of our wonderful, amazing, and cute group with the listeners?
Sure, I would love to introduce our amazing group. Well, along with us is Matthew Aguja, Des De La Cruz, Rix Enriquez, Diana Ron, and Gabby Pesilier that make up the third group of our NSTP class. They have helped us a lot with other aspects of this project behind the scenes, and we would like to take this time to give them a shout out. What's up, guys?
Hi, guys! Ang cute nyo. Alam kong nakikinig kayo sa amin ngayon. So anyway, before we start, we'd like to call on Miss Des De La Cruz to formally kickstart the series. Take it away, Des.
Thank you, Ali and Josh. Moving forward, as a part of protecting our Filipino democracy, we have to secure votes in the ballots. Since our country's future is in the hands of its voters, it is our role as voters to educate ourselves about the electorate's credibility, political ideologies, and platforms through thorough research. The notion, the less you know, the more you believe, is exactly right. Because when people do not have the facts, they make them up. And that creates unstable environments. In support of elections and democracy, your power to vote aims to build electoral process and electoral knowledge amongst the youth, and in particular first-time voters. It emphasizes not only citizens' awareness, but also citizen participation in all aspects of democratic society. When we actively exercise our right to vote, we are given the opportunity to make a difference in our country. If you do not like how our country is being governed and yet you do not vote wisely in elections, then aside from the government, you too are at fault. Guided by the Almighty as we continue to pursue ethical governance, we will fulfill even greater aspirations. Outward directions is in your hands.
Thank you so much, Des, for giving that insightful, welcoming message. But Josh, are you ready to get this podcast started?
I'm ready to get it started, Ali. Pero bago yan, meron muna akong ipapasugot na bugtong sa'yo. You ready?
My gosh, let me mentally prepare myself real quick. But you know
Okay.
what? Fire away.
Listeners and group mates, listen also because you wanna answer. May balbas, walang muka, may buhok na kulay ginto, hindi tao, hindi hayop, ngungit, kulot ang buhok.
Ayan. Hindi tao, hindi hayop. Aha. Eh di bagay to, di ba? It's a thing, right? It's just not a living thing.
It's a thing, not a living thing. Yeah.
All right. Is it, I don't know, it could be a root crop. Is it corn? Well, corn
It's
is not a
not.
root crop, but is it corn? Mais.
Yes, it's joke lang.
Is
It
it
is.
not?
It is. Good job.
Ano ba? My goodness.
Ang galing mo naman.
Okay. Thank you. Talino ako. Joke lang.
Oh.
Anyways,
okay.
let's get this started, Josh. So, the first topic we are going to discuss today is the youth's role in being a citizen of our democratic government.
Wow. That's a great topic. There's a lot to talk about in that topic, Ali. And I can't wait to get started because the youth is usually overlooked when it comes to making crucial decisions in a general sense. No? Like, let's say like
True. That
ordering
is
Grab
so
for dinner.
true, Josh. Oh, yeah. Well, that sounds like me on a weekend. So, tama ka dyan. So, first off, let's define what the government is. So, the government is the governing body of a nation, state, or community. Bukod pa dun, the government of a country is the group of people who are responsible for governing it. So, why don't you tell our listeners what political engagement is, partner?
Well, I'd love to. So basically, political participation includes a broad range of activities through which people develop and express their opinions on the world and how it is governed, and try to take part in and shape the decisions that affect their lives. These activities range from developing thinking about disabilities or other social issues at the individual or family level, joining disabled people's organizations or other groups and organizations, and campaigning at the local, regional, or national level to the process of formal politics, such as voting, joining a political party, or standing for elections.
That was super informative. Grabe. I feel as though dahil parte tayo ng kabataan and all like those who are first-time voters, we should really keep that in mind. The fact that voting is a privilege we should not take for granted. And again, I emphasize voting is a right, but at this point, it's a privilege because there are multiple factors that affect people and that hinder people from being able to vote. These things such as poverty, lack of education, social isolation, personal factors, stigma and discrimination, the lack of disability-friendly processes and role models, and multiple legal barriers.
Yeah, I would like to agree with that. And especially for me, since I came from a high school that actually, magically enough, promoted voting properly. And, we had all these talks and seminars about why we are people that are lucky to vote, being in the middle and upper class. Like our brothers and sisters in poverty, syempre, they're fighting every day just to live a normal and happy life. Crimes and, typhoons are hitting them. Like kanina, it rained. For us, we didn't feel anything. But, for our brothers down there, they might have felt a lot.
It must have been really hard for them, no?
True. And, sila pa yung walang bosses para mag-vote because they need to speak out because sometimes the government doesn't even, I don't want to say a name, but our president doesn't care for them that much. So, they need their voice to vote in order to be able to find their benefits and what fits for them in order to have a better and more secure future. Plus, it's kind of sad also. It ties in with like lack of education. I think we've all seen this video before. I think it was around we were grade 10 or grade 9. There was the guy with the Budut's commercial. I forgot already, but people were voting for that guy just because he was handsome or he had a funny commercial. It's like these people with lack of education, they don't really know how important it is to vote and how heavy their vote is,
True. Well, to clear up some things, I wouldn't say that our president doesn't pay no attention, but he really does. He and his administration does. It's just that the help being delivered to everybody is not enough to support the whole community that has been devastated by those calamities, right? And yes, much
true.
again, going back on the topic of as a person who advocates for education, as we all know it, is a right. But education, again, is something you have to pay for. And, it just doesn't make any sense if you think about it. Education is a right, but why put a price on it? Thus, these people who are under the poverty line, those who are experiencing poverty right now, aren't able to receive this chance or this opportunity to have this good education that could help them become a better functioning member of society. What do you think, Josh?
I agree with pretty much everything you said, and especially about that part of them not being able to be a proper functioning member of society. It's really sad to see.
That is true. Might I add, whenever during the election season, rather, when some politicians would campaign, there would be multiple people that would fall for vote buying, and that is not right. This does not support their cause or the cause of right and just voting. No.
Yeah, that's really sad to see. And I've actually had a few family members na parang na-affect na rin na sila ng vote buying.
My goodness.
Thankfully enough, they didn't say yes. So at least we know na they're still just.
Yes, that's great. So I guess that concludes our first segment, everyone. So what did you think, Josh?
Honestly, it's just been the first segment, right? But parang ang dami na nating natunan. And first of all, I would like to thank our listeners who have been avidly waiting the release of these episodes. We will talk about them more in our next segment. But yes, please keep in mind that voting it's not something that everyone can do. And not everyone has the privilege of doing it. So use your voice. And I just want to say, everyone needs to make their vote count.
That is so true. Swak na swak yung sinabi mo, Josh. And again, I'd like to reiterate, voting is a right, but please do, all of us voters, maybe somebody who has voted already before or a new voter, please exercise your right to vote since the fate of this country is in our hands.
You know the drill, Ali. Do you have any bugtongs or riddles up your sleeve there for me?
Well, ikaw na alam mo ni. But anyway, ito ang bugtong ko para sa'yo. Heto na ang magkapatid, nag-uunahang pumanhik.
My answer is, let's skip na lang. Joke lang. Nag-uunahang
Bawal.
pumanhik.
Hindi ako aawat.
Okay. It's a body part? Let me guess, it's a body part, right?
Yes.
Okay, then it's feet, right?
Yes, congratulations.
You know me naman, Jose Rizal ng Gen Z.
Oh God. Talaga ba?
I don't know. As I have said, Ali, we are now going to take this time to talk about our beneficiary for this project. We are having Cornerstone, and we were lucky enough to get to know them better through our interview. Right, partner?
Yes, Josh. I feel as though we have been really lucky to get to know them better and to know their advocacy that they were able to impart to all of us during that interview. Thank you again to Mr. Chito Estrellado for being there. We learned that they work for elementary and high school students who come from lower income families. So Cornerstone also conducts leadership training, values formation, and environmental and social issues talks held by their volunteers.
Yep. And a part of their mission is to also address the varied brackets of society, Ali, including those who are already members of Cornerstone, of Ws, and individuals who are in prison as well. Their head organization is ANCOP, and through them, they also have liaised with TESDA para tulungan ang mga kababayan nating makahanap ng trabaho.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that comprehensive overview of our target audience and beneficiary for this project, Josh. We would like to give a special mention to them right now and say hello to every member of Cornerstone and ANCOP listening in right now. Hi, guys.
Hello.
So when we got to know them better, no, Josh? I would just like to share something that Tito Chito talked about. He said, and I quote, "Importanteng informed ang voters, lalo na ang kabataan. But we would also have to take responsibility for ourselves. As a voter, we have to let our candidates know kung ano ang gusto natin na gawin nila para sa atin."
Wow. Now, you said that with great emotion. What else can you expect from the great leader, Tito Chito? What a lovely quote from him. Now, I love what Tito Chito said because we really can't just sit idly by as this election season is going on. In this context, Tito Chito was explaining the importance of taking advantage of the tools that were given to us in this digital age. Dahil meron na yung internet and everything can be done with just 1, 2, or maybe at worst if the Wi-Fi is slow, 3 clicks of a button. We can have the resources we need in terms of selecting our candidates that suit our principles in life, Ali. Pero sinabi ni Tito Chito na porket ganito kadali ay dapat hindi pa rin tayo magpabaya and really do our research about every candidate. Especially outside their campaigning materials. It's all colorful banners and catchy taglines that have a heroic underlying meaning na yun. But we shouldn't let ourselves be fooled by that. We need to take accountability and examine all the facts and what our chosen candidates have already done in order to make a factual conclusion on who it is we want to lead our country and who to vote for.
Very, very well said, Josh. Much like what you've mentioned a while ago, the media is a very useful tool right now. It could help us, again, research on our candidates, on their resume, on the programs they've already done inside and outside of their work in the government. So in relation to what Tito Chito said there, when we asked about his advice for newcomers like us when it comes to voting, he mentioned, and I quote, "Wag gaya-gaya sa mga matatanda." And I agree with this quote. Because, ayun nga, I know, right? Ayun nga, yung pinag-usapan natin in the first segment, this is a part of what we call stigma and discrimination when it comes to voting. Some households really consider it a personal matter when choosing a candidate. And I have witnessed people who are going through this our age. Influencing younger members of the family to vote for the same candidate as the elders is a real dilemma that the youth have to go through every day, and their opinions are invalidated and silenced when it comes to politics. This is very saddening to hear, no, Josh?
Yep.
And that is why we're here presenting to you all of the facts now to let you guys know that all of us are in this together.
Very well put, Ali. But you know what? Before we get into our last segment, ako naman ang may bugtong para sa iyo.
Ano naman tayo eh? Ano ba? Anyway. Talaga, so hanggang kailan mo na to pinapag-isipan? Ano ba? Anyway, go ahead. Makikinig ako. Tingnan natin kung kaya ko itong sagutin.
Okay, Ali and Philippines, listen up. Kung gusto mong tumagal pa ang aking buhay, kailangang ako ay mamatay.
Pinaguhugutan ka ba? Saan okay ka pa? Sad boy ka ba?
Valentine's just finished, so that's life.
Oh. Sa mga walang Valentine's Day dyan, you have yourself, and that is the best companion you can have this Valentine's Day. But anyway, ano po? Is it something we use on the daily?
Depends on who you are, but pwede.
Okay. Ano ba? Dali. But it's not food, right? It's definitely not food because when you eat it, it's gone.
Yeah. Of course not.
All right. Oh my gosh. Is this a candle?
Scented or not scented?
Ano ba? Paano kung gusto ko scented? Scented na lang.
Either way, you got the right answer. Good job.
Thank you very much. I'm smart. I'm good at this. Right? Tell me I'm good at this.
You're good at this.
Thank you. So out of everything we talked about today, Josh, that brings us back to the question, what is the youth's role as a citizen of our democratic government?
Well, to sum up, Ali, we learned today na hindi lang dapat natin iit sa puwera ang boto natin. We, as part of the youth, cannot be oblivious to the political aspect of our country dahil bukod sa hinaharap natin ang pinag-uusapan, we also need to keep in mind of the fact that through voting, we are shaping ourselves to be well-rounded citizens of our country.
Of course, Josh. And yes, when you say we are shaping ourselves to be well-rounded citizens of this country, it's part of character development. If you think about it, most of us here just turned 18 last year or months ago. And I think being able to exercise the right to vote is one step closer to us being a proper person and proper informed person. Because again, we're exercising our right to vote. The fact that the fate of our country is in our hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, because of this, our wonderful listeners, please stay tuned with us for the next episode where we will be discussing more of what we talked about now. And not to mention, we will add on the Philippine political ideologies that we should be aware of.
Tama yan, guys. Make sure to stay tuned, subscribe, and follow. Or, keep the Facebook page on your bookmarks. Oh, and the Spotify page, of course. And ayun. Before we say goodbye, Ali, we would like to take this opportunity to thank our beneficiary, Cornerstone, and of course, the listeners and our group mates, everyone behind the scenes, for listening to today's episode and allowing us to take a glimpse of their advocacies as well. We look forward to getting in touch with you guys in the future. Thank you, po.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a wonderful day.